don't want to make this a 2 or 3 hour episode, but real quick, what stood out to you the most? Let's just start with surprises. What surprises stood out to you the most in the 4 days of ELeague?
K-Brad going out, I think, was the first one.
That was a really hard group. I mean, I feel like that was the hardest group.
Yeah, it was the group of death, without a doubt. I guess somebody had to go down. I just didn't expect it to be K-Brad because he's been playing so well recently. I feel like over the last year or so, he's been a lot more serious about his game, and he's placed very highly. Seems to handle the tournament pressure very well. Just kind of wasn't expecting that, and then I wasn't expecting Wolf Crones to like be number one. Was he number one in his group or number two?
Yep.
I forget. I feel like it was number one.
He and Fudo were 6-1, so yeah, but he came out as number one.
I mean, that was quite a surprise to me. You know, we always think of Wolf Krone as kind of like the guy who's like spends a lot of time on the internet and not on the internet, online, and
right.
you stick him on a stage, esports arena which all of them found incredibly, you've got really you've got players there who have a lot of experience, and even they are tweeting out saying, whoa, this is really weird and different, and I'm very nervous, all of them reacted in different ways, and it was odd to see Wolf Krone like win, and it was odd to see K-Brad go down. It was odd to see Li Joe go down. I think he's having a bit of a character crisis at the moment because he's lost his beloved Nash, and now he has Urian, but I don't think he's had the same amount of time to train with that character and so on.
Yeah.
I thought Daigo's Guile was weird, to be honest. I think his Guile...
It's just weird to see him play Guile.
He just plays it like ST. There's moments where he should be inflicting a huge amount of damage, but he doesn't know the combos, right? So he's just like flash kick, boom, all right, I'm through. I think that was his mission. Ricky going 0-7. One of my good friends plays Chun-Li, and he has been telling me, he tells me every day, he's broke, he's in bits because it's his favorite character. He's mained the character forever in all games, and he really thinks the character is really bad. And Ricky doesn't use that excuse. Ricky will say online the character's good, viable. I've even asked her, but 0-7 at South by Southwest, I think 0-7 ELeague, even Nuki apparently is retiring or something. Like you're not going to play. Like
how much is the character versus? I mean, look, I'm not trying to call anyone out here. I know everyone has their own. Like talked about Joe. Joe's busy. He's got his own life he's got to run on top of trying to do this Street Fighter thing, right? Ricky is obviously a pro. She's been a pro forever. I have heard in the past that, sometimes she just doesn't train much for various events. And all of a sudden, she's second place at Capcom Cup. And that's because I know for a fact that she trained like 2 or 3 weeks for that event specifically. I don't know what her training regimen was for either South by Southwest or ELeague. So I can't speak to that, obviously. But, how much of this is like the character? How much is this could be putting time into the game? How much of this is literally just like, man, I'm just beat down by the fact that this character maybe isn't as good as she was, and season 2 has just been brutal so far? Because I think from what I saw, it kind of felt like it was a combination of, the character's not great, but she kind of doesn't look as focused as like Capcom Cup.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe that's true. That's why I like to look outside of just Ricky's play, So when you look at Topanga, I think Nuki went 1-6 or 1-5 or something. Yeah. I think I think the best MOV may have gone 2-4 or something like that. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know none of the Chun players did that well. I think the best Chun player in Topanga might have been Guiji one, and it might have just been like a 3-3 or something like that. There's no doubt the character has been nerfed. I think the question is, a couple of the Japanese players that I've spoken to, this seems to be a thing in Japan, which not many people have been talking about here, is when you do a balance patch, their feeling is, can you do a balance patch where you don't completely change my character so much that I have to completely change the style in which I play?
Right.
So I think what's happened to Ryu and to Chun is they've been nerfed in such a way that however you played that character has to go completely out the window.
Yep.
Right? Because Chun used to pressure with instant air legs, and that's gone. So it's like my game plan is completely different now. And so I think there's also an element, yeah, I think you're right. I think there's an element of maybe they need a bit more time to reconfigure, to figure out how does this character now work, and is this character viable? You know, MOV is working hard to figure that out. You know, it's finding solutions to things. Daigo definitely has been giving that a good go with Ryu. But he went 0-7 at Topanga and decided this is ELeague. This is a big deal for my sponsors and me, I suspect, and I should probably go in with Guile right now. But who knows whether those Guile, those Ryu buffs. But yeah, training as well. We never know what goes on in the background in regards to training. You never know. And sometimes people don't train and then they play brilliant because, you know, like remember 2 years back at CEO with 801 Strider, who you recently interviewed, right? Like when he was Ultra Street Fighter 4 and Kazunoko won, and 801 Strider came second, and 801 Strider said, "Guys, I've been playing Bloodborne. Like that's what I've been doing. Like, you know, like I've been playing Bloodborne. I have no, you know, like." Maybe it's the footsies I've been playing because there is some footsies in Bloodborne, right? So maybe it's the footsies I've been playing in Bloodborne. So you never know what's going on with the person. You never know who's going to show up on the day and all that sort of stuff. But did Ricky going out surprise me? Not really. Not after seeing South by Southwest. You know. I mean, how about you? Like, what surprised you? What I mean, or what?
I can't say I was too surprised that Ricky went 0-7. I think the two things that probably stood out to me, other than you're right, K-Brad going out was I didn't expect that. I figured it was going to be someone else in his group, but maybe I'm most surprised that I actually guessed most of the finalists right. the top two that got out from each group.
Oh, you did?
I think I actually got 7 out of 8. And Wolfkrone was actually a dark horse. So unfortunately, the other 3 dark horses that I guessed all went 0-7. So I don't think I'm going to do that ever again. I'm not going to curse. I'm not going to curse anyone. But I think the 2 things that stand out to me: Snake Eyes.
Yeah, so happy about Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes went 5-2. Obviously, made it out of his group in 2nd place. You know, I figured he was going to play Akuma. He did pretty well. I mean, he won, I think, 1 or 2 matches with Akuma, but then, and we've been wondering, like, why isn't he playing Geef? Geef is much better, right? And he breaks out Geef, and he just, you know, is just smashing people. So it was good to see him sort of back, and I don't know how that translates to the rest of the year, the Capcom Pro Tour, whatever, but it was really weird.
Can I point something out? Actually, you made me think of something with Geef. PR Balrog, did you notice in one of the interviews he said, "I have so much more stuff to show you guys that I held back"? One of the things that he didn't do against Geek, it was really interesting because I think he'd already qualified. The last match was his last match was versus Snake Eyes. He already told me in my interview that he was going to use Alex for Zangief. He told me that he needs, like, the matchup is not good. It's
for Balrog.
Really pretty bad for Balrog, and he's going to use Alex. So I think he just held Alex back. I think he was just like, well, I'm going to win this group anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll play Balrog, you know, and he got beat. And I don't think he was surprised at getting beat. I think we, you know, if that match happens again, we'll see Alex.
Interesting.
I think there was a little bit of
gamesmanship.
Well, what is it? Sandbagging, maybe? Like not so much gamesmanship, but just holding stuff back until you actually need it. So you're not gonna download my Alex. You're not gonna go. I'm not gonna use my Alex. You're not gonna go watch the video, and next time we play, you're gonna know how to beat my Alex. I'm just not gonna play my Alex. You're gonna play. You're gonna face my Balrog. So
interesting.
It's smart. You know, it's smart. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interject.
So the second thing I think that stood out to me was Infiltration going 4-3. I didn't predict in his group that he would come out top 2. It wouldn't have surprised me if he had, this different Infiltration in 2017 because he shot out of the gate. I mean, he shot out like a cannon in 2016, right?
Yep.
Like he won everything.
Yeah.
And this guy was so far ahead of everyone else in the game in 2016. It was not even funny. It was ridiculous how far ahead he was just mentally. And it showed in his gameplay. And now he's in a situation where, Nash isn't as good. He's trying out different characters. He started out kind of weak during that day, and he did get stronger as the day went on. I think you could see that progression. But he's playing these characters, and he's just not as dominant as he was. And I just find it interesting that Infiltration, the player, is that much different from last year to this year to right now. I don't know if it's the characters. I don't know. He's busy too. Guy just got engaged. There's a lot of things going on in his life.
No, there's a lot of things going on.
He's more esports, right? But I just find that interesting. The difference between it's a tale of like, two stories. It's two different stories. 2016 and 2017 Infiltration.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we said. Like, I think he does have a lot going on. He's getting married. It's amazing. He's in love. Yeah. This is incredible. He did that whole thing where he explained what was going on with his life. He even talked about like really personal things, like having hair implants, which is why he kind of has his hood up all the time. Crazy stuff. And so I feel like, his training is definitely different right now. It's not the same as when, because I feel like he must. I think he said he met his girlfriend sort of middle of last year, maybe. So it was he hadn't met her when he was training. Now,
right,
he has to figure out his priorities and when to prioritize his training and all that sort of stuff, right? So even Daigo is the same. It's like Daigo will go through these periods of losing, right? And people will go, "What's up with Daigo? Like he's supposed to be a god."
He's washed up.
He's washed up, and then he'll target specific tournaments and he'll train for them. And I think all of these players are kind of very similar. You can't you can't have your foot on the gas pedal full throttle all the time. I think you have to target what's important to you and your career and train, or in some cases, as your life evolves, figure out when you can train. Because he literally moved to Seoul, I think, just before he came over for ELeague.
Yep. Yeah.
That's a big deal. Like you're moving apartments, you're moving in with, your wife to be, you're in a whole new city. It's so Infiltration, like, I don't know what, like that's as much as we know, but we do know that his life is busy. So, it is interesting to see like somebody be so dominant and then drop off towards the end of the season. And then, this year, maybe looking a little bit lost. I mean, he had that he had a rather infamous tweet recently about Capcom lying. And it was very cryptic. He was obviously angry about something. Nobody really knows. What I like about him is he is one of those players who will speak his mind. I like that. He will, he will, when he's angry about something, he will say it. And quite often he's kind of like wants the things that we all want. Like I remember like the very first final round, he sat on the stage and was chanting Alex, like he wanted to see an Alex trailer. It never happened, but he was, like it was like he gets excited about the stuff we all get excited about, so anyway, you're right. It's a different Infiltration at the moment, but I think when it comes down to it, when it matters, I think he'll tune in and you'll see someone turn up, just like back in the day when he used to pull out his alt characters back in, like Goken or Hakan. It was never really that. I mean, they were already so strong. Like he'd pull them out and he'd win with them,
Yeah.
And at the moment, he's sort of got Rashid and Jury and I don't know. Maybe he's still a little bit lost with characters. Nash is going to get some buffs, so gonna have to see where he ends up. Like he needs to find that think he needs to find those characters that suit his style the best. And I kind of feel like he's waiting for the next patch before he really puts in the effort.
I definitely get that same sense. I think a lot of players are doing that. I mean, I think they're sticking with whoever they're sticking with just because, or they're just kind of waiting to see what happens with the next patch before they really settle in on any one specific character or whatever. Real quick, before we move on, I wanted to ask you, was Valle surprising at all to you? I mean, I think a lot of people probably pegged him for an 0-7, but I know he was grinding really hard, especially like at you know, events like Wednesday night fights and whatnot. So I'm not sure how surprised I was that he went 3-4. Unfortunately, he didn't qualify, but you know, I think he was the only guy to go 3-4 that didn't qualify out of his group.
Yeah. Well, he's played Rashid for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So that thank God, because you know what they did to Ryu, like he would have gone.
Yeah.
If he had Ryu, he would have gone 0-7, just like Daigo went 0-7 at Topanga. You know, it's a bit weird watching him play Daigo. You know, like Rashid versus Gar. It's just like. You know, there was references.
You know, it's funny you say that because all I could think of as soon as they sat down, I was like, I was thinking about that 1998 video where you know, like they met playing what was it, Alpha 2 at that time.
I wish they had shown. I mean, I don't know if maybe it's a rights thing or not, but I wish they had shown like that grainy clip. You know, especially Alex, because he just looks hilarious. Like. Back in the days, like, you know, standing up on a chair, pointing at people, like, it's about time I played the best in the world, you know, and just in his tank top on and like, it's so good. Like, that video is so good. I just wish they had shown something, even just a photo of what Alex looked like back then and what Daigo looked like. Daigo looked like this little boy, you know, like, their battles down the years, and they've always been Ryu mains, and then it's like, where's Ryu? You know, we've already talked about it, but where, you know, where's Ryu? And that was kind of weird. But did it surprise me? Not really. I think I think he's just one of those guys who, no matter what, always finds a way of like winning.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not winning the whole thing, but you know, he's got a lot. He seems like he has a lot going on in his life. But you know, he contributes to the FGC in so many. You know, there's so much that takes up his time in terms of his contribution to the FGC, which isn't just him sitting there practicing, playing, or whatever. But you can just see the God-given talent for him to be able to win. What is it? Did you say 4-3, or was
he went 3-4? And I think
3-4. So he won 3. He won 3 matches, right? So
yeah.
I mean,
I feel like that's 3 more matches anyone would have given him credit for. I think everyone thought he'd be an 0-7.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to be 0-7. I think he's just one of those guys. You know, like you go back to things like his Hugo versus Bonchan. Like it's just that sort of stuff is crazy. He's just one of those guys. You know, he's just one of those guys. I was
standing right behind them during that match. It was incredible.
Yeah. No. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It was. I don't want to dwell on the 0-7s too much. You know, it's a tough day for all of them.
Well, let's talk about Gootecks.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it was a tough day for all of them. But here's Gootecks goes 0-7. But if anyone, I feel like comes out a winner of those 4 days, it's got to be Gootecks.
So Gootecks was like the first person I ever met in the FGC. I met him in 2011 at Evo. He was trying to find a seat at the front. He sat next to me, and you know, he's always been a very inspiring guy. He's always put in a lot of work. I think it's extraordinarily hard to keep up with the great players and run a business and make content and do all of these things. Like there really aren't. You know, if anyone is doing that, it's him. Like it's really hard to do. Basically, is what I'm saying. Did everyone expect him to go 0-7? Yes, definitely. Everyone expected that to happen. Did he expect it? I think so, because I think he just decided, okay, well, what is the opportunity here for me? You know, like as a businessman, as a social media god. And so, like, you know, he just, you know, memes. I mean, he was ahead of he just instantly knew. He got the reaction he was looking for, right?
Yeah.
The minute people saw his picture, he got the reaction he wanted to. It went viral. People photoshopped it into everything. He became a meme. He's going to continue to. That's going to continue to be. He's already a meme. Like he's a number of different memes, PogChamp, all that sort of stuff. And now he's got like this new meme where he can travel through time and all this sort of stuff. And he's got a jacket that I can't figure out whether like it just makes cross counter look so cool. And will he do I want to buy cross counter merchandise now? Probably, because that was cool. Do I want to buy a hitbox? Maybe. I'm considering it because like the execution on a hitbox is perfect. If when you think about it, like when you look at the inputs, when you're using a fight stick and you look at the inputs, they're like they're all over the place. You're like, I did not do that, but clearly I did. If you use a hitbox, you're just pressing buttons. You'll see like perfect execution. So on paper that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, he came out of it certainly from his own perspective, his persona, his brand. In a way, you wish he'd done it on TV because he'd be like, I mean, people would go nuts for him. Like people would be writing articles all over the place about this crazy, person from the cyborg from the future or whatever, So he came in and did entertainment, right? Yep. Which is interesting because that's what they were kind of looking for a number of people they invited who sort of went 0-7. And some of those people, maybe either they felt like I'll train hard and I'll surprise people, whereas I think what Gootecks did was like, nah, I'm gonna maximize this opportunity in my own special way, and it was brilliant. And it's a shame that it happened on Twitch and not the sort of TBS. 4 test days when it could be happening on TBS,
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I feel similar in. I don't think the guy's gonna go in there thinking, "Oh, I'm just it's like whatever." Right? I know Gootecks well enough. I've talked to him right after he's lost matches, and it's not even that he's just super salty. Like it's the disappointment. I remember talking to him at Evo 2015. He had just lost. I can't even remember to who, and here's this guy in this really cool looking suit, carrying his stick under his arm, and he is just dejected, right? I think everyone, if you've ever competed, I guess seriously enough, you've felt that, right? It's not even just the salt. It's just if you've lost something, it's not even competition. If you've ever lost something in your life, you know what that feeling is, right? And so it was interesting hearing him talk after that, after one of his losses, and you could kind of see that disappointment. But you're right. I think this guy came in with a plan. I think his plan worked. If it had been on TV, it would have just been a million times bigger. But I also think this kind of speaks to ELeague and their social media team. Like whoever they got on social media right now, they deserve a raise, because I don't even remember seeing this much stuff, this wacky stuff during their Counter-Strike seasons. They took like Street Fighter to another level.
The meme thing is insane right now. It's insane. It's not just ELeague. ESL got in on it. And anybody associated with the FGC decided to get in on it, and even just people, just regular people who know how to use Photoshop got in on it. And so there's too many memes for me to even, I can't go through. There's so many, I can't go through them all. It's just like it's ridiculous. There's a part of me which is already sick of memes. I never thought I'd say that. I love a good meme, but the FG. It's a little crazy, but it memes work in terms of like making something bigger, and getting people to tune in, I guess.
So it should be a good storyline. Even I think post Gootecks, I'm sure they'll talk about this stuff, but I think it'll be interesting to see, I guess, how the other players do. And going back to real quick, the fake versus real, like what can they manufacture for drama?
Right. So one thing I did want to say about real versus fake was I did feel that every now and then they did sort of spoof themselves a little bit. So I thought that was fun. Like they like when Malik called out Daigo for the amount of sponsors he had on screen, like, because I was watching Daigo and I immediately, I'm the same. I'm just the same as everyone
human
else.
Billboard.
I was like, this is ridiculous. So I immediately took a photo of it and tweeted it out. I was like, look, it's ridiculous. Because to me, it was like, this esports, but it's also like, that's what happens in the FGC. Like when you know that when you interview somebody, they go grab everything they need, their hat and their fight stick and all that stuff, right? And he had the 4 brands going on, right? He had his headphones on and all that sort of stuff, right? He had it. And what I liked was that Malik called it out instead of sort of pretending it wasn't happening. You know? I just thought it was kind of funny. You know, like it was like that when you talk about real versus fake, it's like I like when people call out something that everybody's thinking. You know, like instead of just ignoring it because it's esports, we can't say it. It's like, and it will upset the sponsors or whatever. It was like, you know, you got enough sponsors there. You know, like, do you have enough or do you need more? You know, I can't. You know, it's kind of like, and I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool. I thought occasionally they would do that, was kind of spoof esports, kind of spoof themselves a little bit, and I think that's healthy.
Yeah.
I don't think esports is ever going to be the same as the FGC, and people just have to accept that. But yeah, I thought the real versus fake, they're just going to have to find the right balance. I just hope it doesn't change into too much of a reality TV thing, because that it can be interesting. I mean, I could see how that would be entertaining for people who are not really into the game.
Yeah,
I kind of get that. But I just hope it doesn't get like that, you know. I hope they manage to capture the real moments, and the real moments don't have to be crazy over the top for them to be interesting. You know, they just have to be real. They have to be human. Yeah. The South by Southwest, right? It's not esports, but I mean, maybe it is. But South by Southwest, when Champ beat Punk, that was the first time Punk really got big, you know, like proper big. And he just,
it's funny. As soon as that happened, I started writing up a story, because I'm like, here is a human element that we rarely get to see in fighting games. And I know it's not necessarily a positive element. I think it worked out great. And ultimately, it worked out great in his favor. But I mean, yeah, when you see stuff like that, I'm like, this is what people need to understand, especially about competition in fighting games.
So yeah, so I would say, like, so I think thuggery is the wrong word, right? I think it's great meme for FGC and all that, but I think the right word is rivalries. Yeah, pop-offs, whatever, right? That's great, but I think there are so many more, like I said, like shades to the FGC, and I think more than anything, you just want to see the humanity. You want to see human beings, whether it's just emotions. That's what it is. It's pride. It's anger. It's disappointment. It's, you know, seeing somebody broken just for a moment, you know, because they're so devastated, you know, like, but you want it to be real, right? You know, it's funny. We could, you know, I hate the term reality TV because it's nothing, because it has the word real in it, but it's not real. It's scripted. But if they can capture real moments, they can be quite powerful. You know, like, that was a very powerful moment. Seeing Punk slump down after his loss, literally his whole body, like the energy in his body, just like, you know, he couldn't compose himself because he was like, I don't understand what just happened. You know? Yeah. And I think F-Champ understood that feeling, actually. You know, I can't remember exactly, but you know, F-Champ understands emotions, strong emotions, and he was like going over to try and console him. That was a real moment. That to me was a real moment. So it's difficult in that environment where you've got studio lights and all that sort of stuff. But like if they manage to make the players feel comfortable enough in that environment, I think you will capture the real moments. And I think that's what's most important. I enjoy the commentary. I love the savagery and the back and forth and all that sort of stuff. But I definitely don't. I don't know what to say about it. I think they've done pretty well so far. It's certainly in terms of past esports type FGC events. Yeah, it's been pretty good. I mean, not had a lot to compare it to, but it's been pretty good.
All right. So before we go on, we got to take another pause because this interview has been too epic. I don't know. Can it be too epic? I don't know. But stay tuned for part 3 of this BornFree. Part 3 of BornFree Conversations of Fireballs.
Oh, look at that wordplay! Wow.